Well, coming off my first practice, where we actually had an official practice yesterday, and it was not full, of course. We still have a couple players out. We did have another positive test at the end of last week with Gabe Brown that we had to, same kind of situation where it was negative, and then we had to get it retested, and when we did, it was positive. We also had one with one of our assistant coaches yesterday. So we're hoping to have Gabe back by early in February. As far as the coach, he'll be off for 10 days. And that's kind of where we're at. We did have a great workout. Really the first one where we could get up and down a little bit. But it's been different, for the last couple of weeks. And the reason it's been different has been a lot of individual work. We've separated some guys. We kind of went over and above. Our Big Ten protocols to test 6 days a week. We've tested 7 days a week ever since the end of October. We also kind of separated our guys because we've got a lot of guys that have had it now, and we're down to a couple that didn't, so we kept them separate, which is going to help. We've already talked to the people at Rutgers, and throughout the season, we've taken all the medical advice. I told you early, I'm not into political advice, I'm into medical advice. We've done that. At no point that our numbers require us to shut down by that protocol. We did make a decision to postpone games. And that was because not only for ourselves and health and well-being, but after going through what we went through at Virginia and seen some other teams go through it, I contacted Iowa myself and just asked Fran what he thought. So there's been very good communication with our coaches in general. We've talked at length yesterday in a Big Ten meeting. I've talked to Matt Painter when he had a player go down. I've talked to Juwan Howard. So we're going to continue to test daily and do what we have to do. And we're supplementing with PCR tests. So we're almost doubling up multiple times a week. As I said, we've been in contact with Rutgers. Obviously, you've seen how fast things can change, but we're raring to go, ready to go. And if there's one thing that we have gone through, it's that we have a large number of players now that have had it throughout the school year. And we're prepared to play on Thursday. Everything's go for us on Thursday. Rutgers is prepared for us to play Thursday. And hopefully, we'll get some people back as time marches on. So I'm sure you got a million questions. I'll take 10 of them.
We'll go first to Brendan Quinn from The Athletic. Tom, so how many players do you expect to have available on Thursday?
I expect to have 11 or 12 players available.
For the guys who previously tested last week, or I guess 2 weeks ago, it's hard keeping track of that.
It is hard keeping track. I'm with you. I got a list. We think Stephen and Josh should be eligible on that day for their first day of competition. They've been able to be in the protocol now. They've had their heart test, so they're in the workout part of it today, tomorrow, and then the 17th day, I think, would be on the game day. So there's a chance, I don't know if they'll play, but there's a chance that they could be in there spotting for a little bit.
And in terms of the Rutgers game being played, is that still kind of a day-to-day?
Not to me, it's not. Not to Rutgers, it's not. Unless something happens at their place. We're running out of people to it happen to. There's a couple of teams that have had a lot of people. There's a couple of teams that have had almost no people. As you can see, I don't know everything about Michigan, but that they don't have anybody right now that even has it, and the health department shut them down, or the athletic department decided to. So it's so much of this stuff is out of our hands. That's why I said I'm just doing what our medical people say. I've been very comfortable with that. We probably could have played that game at Virginia, and if we would have, it could have been a little bit disastrous, as that next 2 weeks they went on pause because they had more guys than they thought. But our medical people and theirs got together, and those are the decisions that made. Coaches don't always make great decisions on these kind of things, so we kind of take it out of our hands, and I think it's worked pretty well from what I've seen as far as who's made the decisions, and the decisions have been the right ones.
I can go next to Justin Rose.
Hey Tom, a beautiful two-parter for you. First, does the shutdowns that are happening with you guys and with other teams in the conference and nationwide, quite frankly, has it changed your perception of this season at all, as far as just maybe, I guess the legitimacy of it?
Well, when I kind of had my mini meltdown a week or so ago to you guys, I was trying to explain, to be fair to me, just how stressful this has been. When when you're an assistant coach, when you're a player, you get up every day, you worry about, maybe your scouting report, or the player worries about, is he ready to play? When you're a coach in this, you worry about your assistant coaches, your trainers, your players, but then you turn around and worry about your opponents. And you do that every day. And it's been every day since the day we started testing. So has it been, your question is, has it been the same or different? Yeah, it's been different. It's been different because that's what I do every day. But on the other side of it, it's been kind of enlightening to me to see how 20-year-olds that we condemn a lot of times, or say how immature they are on some things, and some they are, Twitter, but whatever. But for the most part, just got to get my commercial in. But for the most part, the way these guys have handled it, to me, has been unbelievable. And so every day I get to practice, I kind of appreciate the energy they bring, and the fact that they want to be there, and the fact that they've followed the protocol about as good as anybody I'd ask. And again, I don't live with them 24 hours a day. But I'll be honest with you, I am very comfortable in my skin and their skin on what I've heard, what I've seen, and what they're doing. And sometimes, like I'm living proof, it doesn't really matter. There are no explanations for some of this. And that's why you just keep moving forward the best you can, taking care of yourself the best you can. But you can't, I don't condemn any kid who's gotten it, because for the most part, I know what everybody's doing. And when I say that, probably more than any year I've been in this job, just because I got assistant coaches, I got trainers, I got this guy, I got that guy, I got players watching each other. Hell, I got my own son, so I know what he's doing most of the time. It's been interesting, but it's been a different year. But there's parts of it that have been rewarding. I mean, if our country, if people can get through this, chances are they're going to get through a lot of things that are stressful, and we just got to keep reminding them there's still people a lot worse off than us. We've had some things taken away from us. Some people have, lost their lives. Some people have been seriously injured. There's a lot of different things that are going on.
Leads me to my second part. It seems like an eternity since that Purdue game. Can you almost look at this as a season refresh? You guys almost had 2 weeks to training camp to start the season, and you just had another 2-week break. I know the intensity was a little different, but now that you're re-entering play and hopefully be able to get to the finish line, can you maybe reset where you guys are at a little bit?
Well, as I talk to different people, I try to, as I said, I'm on a committee with Jay Wright, and they went through even a longer period of time, and everybody's had it a little different. Sometimes the coach was out, sometimes the coaching staff was out, sometimes a bunch of players were out. In our case, we got to work out 8 or 9 guys. I mean, I was the only one that could do it, but it was more individual workouts. for a while. You can get some things done in there, but you can't get everything. But I think you bring up a good point. It is like you're redoing training camp, except the only difference is the other teams aren't necessarily redoing training camp. So, take a team like Rutgers. They had struggled since our game. They were hot coming into our game. I want to say they were 7-8-2, and really playing well. And then since our game, they had struggled. And then they go to Indiana and maybe play their best game of the year if you looked at it from different guys that Baker had been struggling, really played well. We love Baker here. We thought for 2 years he was. And then Harper, who we all know is a great player, he's playing well. Now they get some depth back inside that they didn't have. So, they're playing better. And if I had to tell you how our guys are going to respond, if I look at the practice, they've practiced hard, they've been focused. How they'll respond to 20 days from playing a game, only time's going to tell. But I will approach it like you said, kind of a second season, kind of a new start. Let's see if we can we're 0-0 in January in a little bit, and we'll go from there.
Thanks, Tom.
You're welcome.
We'll go next to Chris Solari.
The past couple of weeks with the guys you have been able to work with, what type of things have you been able to get done, maybe that can translate to the court in a group setting, not just the individual stuff? I mean, you ever work 2 guys at a time, 3 guys at a time, and what kind of things did you get to do with them?
Well, we did. We did from one on none, so one at a time. We did 2, we did 3. We tried to get guys that have already had it and hadn't. We separated our locker rooms again, so we were in different locker rooms. They've done a hell of a job here. If I could say this, for our medical people, my training staff, my equipment guy, we have really tried to separate everybody that could touch everybody. And I think we went overboard on it. But what did we learn? Well, it's funny, when I talked to Jay Wright, and he came back and they shot the ball pretty well and shot it well from the free throw line. But he said his defense and his rebounding was the worst it's been all year. And that's because you don't get any physical nature. The first even banging of a body was yesterday, where we really could do anything. So that part of it you miss. You usually miss the defensive intensity a little bit. Hopefully we'll shoot well from the free throw line, which we have. Hopefully we'll shoot a little better from the 3, which we have. But we've been getting a lot of shooting in. And then we reviewed a lot of things like plays and stuff like that, or defensive schemes that we could do kind of one-on-one, do a little more film session in our practice gym. We've showed a lot of film in there where we could stay socially distanced. It's been unique, is the best way I can put it. But, as I talked to a couple guys that have been on long pauses, and this goes to, everybody's questioning, should we be playing, should we not be playing? But as I talk to these guys that have been on long pauses or now that are going on long pauses, which we really didn't do, it just turned out that way. Everybody's worried about the mental health of the players that don't get to play. And so I still think we've done it the best way you can do it. We've given our players an opportunity to compete. We've given fans an opportunity to watch. And I don't know if we put anybody, I still think the guys we've had are less at risk in the environment we have them in than if we were out in the general environment. That's how I look at this. So translate from practice to game, probably more in shooting, execution of things, but it'll definitely be different as far as the banging and rebounding and defending. Hopefully we'll get a decent day in today, but even up until yesterday, we couldn't even have 2 teams. So hard to scrimmage a little bit. We tried to do a little 3-on-3 one day. It's different, but everybody's gone through something, so no complaints. We just got to get it done.
As a follow to that, because you mentioned about the other programs going on long pause, is there a concern that this, and I know it's out of your hands in a lot of ways, but is there a concern that the state may step in with other athletic programs around the state
You know, I've heard so many different things, and you know, when I talked with Jawan, I just, you know, talked about, you know, tough deal. I didn't get into the logistics. You know, I've heard some of them were shut down. I heard it was the athletic departments. I heard it was a recommendation from the. I don't really know. You're talking to me about things that you guys probably have a better feel than I do. Whether the government, whether the county shut them down, whether the athletic department. The only thing I was surprised that if they're shutting down, if the government is shutting down the athletic department, wouldn't it shut down the school? And I don't know, maybe it did. So you know, let me tell you, when I get up in the morning, there's two things that have happened. Is one, I pull for everybody right now. You know, I'm pulling for everybody to stay healthy and everybody to get to play. But number two, I got so much on my plate with Michigan State, I really don't know. You know, I try to follow up with all the schools in Michigan, just because I'm pulling for all of them to be able to play. But I really don't know the circumstances to any of them. Could the government or could the county health department or whatever it is shut us down or shut any 100%? They have that jurisdiction. I mean, if they said shut down, we don't get to say, oh, no, we don't think we'll do that. You know, we're saying, yes, sir, and that's what we do. Yes, ma'am, and that's what we do. So, as I said, we've followed everything here. Our doctors have been on top of it. Our trainers have been on top of it. This is the one time when everybody thinks I have a lot of power. I have zero. I just say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, and that's it. And that's kind of the way we've done it. And when they tell me I can work out 3 guys, I do it. When they tell me it can just be me, my assistants have to be at home because they didn't have it, I do it. And so I don't know what these other schools are doing. I do talk to the coaches periodically. But boy, everybody's different and every state is different as we're learning. You know, why should we all be on the same page? I would wish at least the Big Ten or the different conferences would get on the same page. There's times I'm not even sure that's happening. So I'm just glued in on us, Chris, and excited that we get a chance to play on Thursday.
Go next to Lindsey Huddleston.
Thank you. Hey, Tom, congratulations on getting a chance to get back. And I'm sorry to hear from Gabe.
Yeah.
Kind of sticking with the theme of these long pauses, high school sports in Michigan. I know you've been hearing the rumblings of what's happening, play or not. If and when they do get a chance to play, Tom, particularly basketball, what advice can you give to players, coaches, and parents regarding the mental transition, especially playing with the COVID protocols, the strict COVID protocols?
Well, I wouldn't worry about the strict protocols. You know, I would say do whatever you got to do to play. You know, just like I've said from day one, I think we could have, if restaurants to me could have been open if people would have followed the protocol. The reason they got shut down, and I agreed with it, because people don't follow the protocol. So, you know, I've heard there's volleyball players playing and they're all wearing masks. Well, you know what? Maybe not quite as convenient, beats the hell out of not playing. So I would tell these parents that just stick with your kids. You know, unless you're going to keep them in your home, not moving, I don't think on athletic fields, you know, especially some of our sports, that they're going to be worse off. I mean, if they're going to school, if they're doing all these other things, I mean, you're going to run into as many different people. Usually, and I don't know all the protocol to the high school, Lindsay, but I do know this. As I look at our players, and I've gone through this, and I went through Christmas, and, you know, listen to people say you should go home, you shouldn't go home, you do this, you do that. I do believe this, that players, the more normalcy they can get in their life, the more students, the more regular kids, parents, the more normalcy you can have, probably the better off you are mentally. And if you're mentally sick, what I mean is run down, depressed, then it starts to become physically. You get so. I just say that with my guys, I'm so happy to have them here. I'm proud of our place that they've tried to do everything we can do here medically to keep our guys playing, because I think that helps their self-esteem and their, mental approach to things. And geez, before I'm done, I gotta, be a politician. I gotta be a psychologist or psychiatrist. I gotta be all those things. And trust me when I say I'm not very good at any of those. Right now, question whether I'm a very good coach, but I am a pretty good person that believes in, and what I've seen these young kids do really has impressed me. And I'm gonna keep battling with them, for them, and we're gonna just keep moving forward the best we can. And I'm hoping that our state adheres to the protocol. I'm hoping that we can open up more things, and especially, sports and even schools. I mean, some schools aren't even open, because I think it's going to be hard on kids, but as I say that, a couple good friends of mine in the coaching profession just saw Shaka Smart. You talk to some of these guys, when I talk to Jay, when I talk to Frank, the people that have announced that they've had it, some of them went through some very tough times. It's not just about the flu like some people are telling you. So, and who knows what the long-term effects are. So, I don't know, boy. It's above my pay scale and it's above my expertise. But I do believe this, that mental health is important, and being able to live and do the things that you're used to doing, I think, is important. And I would tell those parents that support your kids, wear your masks, keep them as safe as possible, go through the protocol that you got to go through, and hope we can get back on the field or court or track or mat or whatever the sport may be.
Coach, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay, sorry, I thought we'd frozen for a minute. We'll go next to Larry Leach.
Hey, Tom, you mentioned most of the team has had it, and obviously you've had an assistant coach now. How many players have it, or how many have, or both?
Just a couple haven't had it. And we've done an unbelievable job keeping them kind of separated from each other because, listen, I don't know if you can believe everything. Is it 90 days, 120? Some people say 150. It depends what conference you're in, what school you're in, what state you're in, what county you're in. Personally, the poorest job we've done is we aren't all on the same page. And I think that makes it difficult. When I hear people can't play sports here, so they're going down to Indiana to play AAU sports. It just doesn't make sense. I think we all need to be on the same page and take this virus and pandemic as serious as it is. But, and then with the new strains or variances, whatever they're called, it's difficult. But I feel very good on where we're at right now, as far as, not that we have a full team, but at least I have some feel for where we are and who's had it and who hasn't. And, does the second run come? All the information I've gotten and the intel that I've gotten, it looks like it's 150 days or more. If that's the case, that helps too. But I don't think anybody knows for sure, Larry. So we just kind of move on each day. Hey, I have had it, so I'm supposedly not contagious and all that. I wear my mask every day. I still wear it in the house. I don't sneak up on anybody at the grocery store. I keep my distance, I got a little squirt bottle in my car. I wash my hands. And some of it is habit, and some of it is to say to people, hey, please, let's do the right things.
Go next to Kyle Austin.
Hey, Tom, I just want to follow up on a couple of things you said from the top. Did you say Josh possible for Thursday? I didn't think you'd hit his 17 days if he's possible for Thursday.
He's either Thursday or Friday, but I think he is on Thursday. You got to remember what this is, and it's like what happened last week with Gabe. there are other illnesses. People still get the flu. You still get the cold. You still get bronchitis. You still get a sore throat. You still get a fever. So sometimes symptoms start, and maybe the hardest thing is what testing's the exact testing. The brain one's supposed to be the end all means all, and so if a guy has symptoms early, it goes from when you have symptoms. So again, if you think I'm kidding, I'm not. I'm going with the players that I had in practice yesterday that are full go, and anybody I get above that is going to be bonus material for me. But I think Josh and Steven are the last two that would be there then. I think it was Davis Smith that's got a few more days, and then, of course, Gabe.
And then, are you willing to say which assistant it is that's not going to be available?
I'm not, because I haven't talked to them. I don't know if they're under the same protocol as anybody. It's not a big deal to me. If you said that I have it, I'd say yes. But because I've been in so much stuff and it just happened, I didn't ask his permission. I don't know if he's under HIPAA or HOOPA or whatever these things are. I think they're all crazy to me. But following the protocol. So you guys, hey, listen, it wouldn't take you guys 6 seconds to find out. So do some work, because I'd tell you today, but you probably knew before I did.
We have time for a couple more questions. We'll go to Matt Charbonneau and then wrap it up with Audrey Delacroix.
Hey, Tom, I know the scheduling and all that is at the conference level this year with all this, but have you gotten any sort of indication at all that they're coming close to maybe having an idea when some of these games might possibly get rescheduled, or no idea at this point?
Matt, absolutely zero. We did have a conference call yesterday, and I thought Rick Boyages did a great job of informing the coaches. The same thing, because I'm on a couple of these national committees, there's things I've known about, and one of them from day one is if there's any cut in, games, they're going to try to make those up. And that's why we played those early games in December, and other conferences have moved some things back. But the truth of the matter is we have no idea, because, as you saw in football, we scheduled Maryland, and then we went down, and then we scheduled them again, and then they went down. So I think it's really hard. Now, KP's involved with some of that, not for Michigan State, for the whole conference. The best thing I can tell you is I had my staff last week. I took 4 members of my staff and a couple of my managers and GAs, and I said, everybody take a team, because they could move, they could have moved our Michigan game to this weekend, or Ohio State game to Monday, They can move games this way, and they can move games that way. And I don't think anybody has a clue. But one thing Rick said, they've been very good at trying to be accommodating. But as I told Susie, I think we're going to play 4 games in a week. I think you could see it where we could play back-to-back games, because there's only so many days left. And if we want to try to get all 20 in, there's going to be some uniqueness, and it's not going to be fair to everybody. And I know yesterday I said on the conference call, guys, I've been knowing this since November, so we have got to just do what's best to get the most number of games in and not worry about records, not worried about this and that as much. Now, that sounds tough, but it's a one-off year, as Mike Krzyzewski said, and we've got to make adjustments that are different than any other year we've ever been in this. And I agreed with him 100% back in October, November, and I still agree with that. I think the conference office will do the best jobs they can, and they'll try to accommodate for another week or two, but then we're going to get down to there'll be no accommodation, because who knows yet what's going to happen. I sure don't. They don't. And if we want to get the games in, and hell, we might play Maryland at their place twice back to back instead of home and home. You know, I mean, I can see some bizarre things happening if you want to get the games in.
We'll go last question to Audrey Dahlgren.
Hi, Tom. You guys, you mentioned you've been speaking to a lot of people about all of this when you guys had this downtime. So who has given you maybe the best advice and guidance on how to navigate your way through this and how to practice with just individuals, or just who has given you the best advice?
You know, that's the problem. I can't give credit to any of my friends because none of them gave me good advice. They said, don't get sick. Well, that didn't work very well. But, you know, I did talk to Jay a little bit more because I'm on a committee with him, and I think his program has some similarities to ours and what he expects. And Jay Wright at Villanova, and I have a lot of respect for him. I know he cared about his players first. I know he cares about his league. He cares about health and well-being, and he cares about winning. So, you know, but everybody's different because, like, I had 8 players available. Somebody else, there was a couple teams I talked to only had 4 or 5. Some, like in Ann Arbor right now, I mean, they're shut out of the gym. We were that way for a few days, you know. Everybody's been different. Not many people have been shut out for a lengthy period of time that I know of. More have had individual workouts, depending if the assistant coach has been, you know, had the virus or not. Like I said, here, the first few days, me and one of my GAs were the only 2 that were allowed in the gym, you know, and so it's, I did talk to a lot of football coaches early on because they had been through the whole thing, Mel included, you know, and how do you handle that? That's where I kind of learned a little more about Zoom calls as far as putting in an offense and a defense and watching your practices from Zoom. And I mean, gone through a lot of stuff. And as I said, it's been worth it. I praise our medical people and our university for, you know, the help they've given me. But as far as stressful, it's just been interesting because you do constantly worry about the people you care about. And so I do that with everybody, from friends I have in coaching. I said last night I was on the phone with Shaka Smart. You know, I called guys I didn't even know, like Ryan Day, who I didn't know. And you know, when he went through it, you're kind of in this fraternity when you get it. It's not a good fraternity, but just to try to give some help on, hey, I had this symptom, I had that symptom. You know, what are you going through? And remember, don't feel comfortable with day 7 and 8 because new symptoms can come. And so, you know, just been helping each other. But as far as advice on, it's so different because everybody's had a different amount of people. You know, like I think Purdue, not talked to Matt in the last couple of days, but they only had 1 guy. So that makes it a lot different. You know, you have 1 or 2 guys, because of our daily testing, you can just go on business as normal to a certain extent. It's when you got multiple guys and then you want to separate them, and it comes down to who's had it, who hasn't had it. Man, there's so many variables, Audrey. It's mind-boggling to think of them all. But for the most part, I think like I said, the people here in my basketball office, to me, have done a hell of a job, and that doesn't include me. That means all the other people that are taking care of people, from nutritionists to strength coaches to trainers to doctors and players. I mean, players deserve a lot of credit. They all want to play, okay? My guys would play 4 on 5. If I said, we got 4 guys left, we're going to play. Oh, great, let's go play, you know? So I have a lot of respect for them on that. And I think they've handled the protocol about as good as you can handle it, you know? I mean, we're talking about masks every day in practice. You know, they got to wear the mask when we meet, when we come to meet in practice. Take them off, wear them again, take them off. At first they were sloppy, but now they've been unbelievable. And I keep telling them, if you can make it through this, you're going to make it through a lot of adversity in your life, and there will be a lot of it. the sadness for me is I don't know what's around the corner. And, when it happened to University of Michigan, I felt bad. I mean, in this competitive world I live in where you hate your rival, I just feel bad for everybody because I want everybody to get through this, and it'll benefit all of us. And we're going to keep working at it because we feel that we are in a position now where we're going to be able to play games. Now the problem will be how many of the teams we play, how many kids have they had? What is their state going to do? What is their county going to do? There's just so much. I think it was Maryland that the county was stricter than the state, and where they were located at one time for football. So those things I don't know about. Those are political. And politics and Twitter, for me, are, I don't know, somewhere, but they're not in this hemisphere, that's for sure.
Then I just have one quick one about Madi. Where is he at? Is he ready? Will he play Thursday? Will he go?
Marty is going to go. Whether they'll play, you gotta remember when you've been out 14 days at least, and then you start edging your way back. I mean, there's going to be a curve of getting back in shape, getting back accustomed to catching a ball and doing things. Marty will be able to play, whether he'll play or not. I don't know that. I might know a little bit more after tomorrow, because you'll have today to practice and tomorrow. But we're going to show up. We're going to have a team. No matter who's playing, we're going to be there. And I think the guys are excited about the opportunity to play, to be honest with you, Audrey. And hopefully that's going to help us play. We think we're going to play a team. We haven't even talked about Rutgers, but I will for a minute. They're definitely on an upswing now. Big win at Indiana. As I said, two guys that have been struggling, Baker and Harper, really played well. They benched a couple guys that played 30 minutes against us, and one of them only played 3 minutes in this game. So they've changed up their lineup, like sometimes you do when you struggle. So it's a different team, and I think Steve's one of the best coaches in this league. So I knew he'd get them back on track. I mean, remember, this too was a top 15, 10. I think they got down to 11, team in the country. And as you've seen all over the country, Tennessee's at home, loses by 25. I mean, people have been not as consistent as you would hope. And there's been a couple teams that have been consistent. But for the most part, most of us haven't been as consistent. Anything else? Anything else, Mex? This is their chance.
We had one or two more, if you want me to go back to them.
That's fine. I've got 10 more minutes.
All right, we'll go Sam Tyler from the Only Colors, and then Jana Bardall from the State News.
Tom, another basketball question, and sort of following up on the Madi question. The last time we saw you guys against Purdue was sort of a tale of two halves at the center, and I was wondering if just over the break, and it sounds like Madi's working his way back in, but if over the break you've got any clarity on that position or...
Well, Marty didn't work his way back in because he's been out. I'd say Marcus Bingham has worked his way back in. I think he's had a good run here in these 2 weeks, to be very honest with you. He's been in on his own. He's been in working out. Marty is working his way back. It's a shame because he was starting to play more and more minutes. But nothing can be done about that, especially as a freshman. That might be a revolving door all year, But I think the other positions are getting, better and better. I think we've got subs and where we got subs. And, it's a shame now losing Gabe because he was one of our best shooters. And we felt like the last game we did not play him enough. And so he would have definitely gotten more minutes and actually did very well until, so he was probably 12 days, 13 days. It was a very good break for him as far as his workouts and everything.
Then we'll go to Dana Bartle from the State News.
Hi, Tom. I'm wondering if during these past couple weeks, when you've had maybe smaller group practices and things like that, if anyone else has stood out to you maybe, or especially going in Thursday without Gabe, as you said, one of the better shooters on the team, who do you think you might look to step up in his place?
Well, it's true. We have spent a little more time with the Rocket Wattses. Rocket has, Aaron Henry has had a great couple of weeks off. He's shooting the ball better and better, and I think that's been a positive. Foster's had a good couple of weeks. The guys that have had it that were able to almost work every day one way or another, other than a couple when we didn't let anybody in the gym, has been good. So, listen, I don't like what our record is totally. I didn't like the last game we played. That left a sour taste in your mouth now for 20 days or 18 days now. But, it is what it is, and we just got to move forward. And I feel real good that we can move forward. I feel bad that I think the league's even, in its own way, even better than I thought. I think right now you're seeing nationally where you say, wow, Iowa's got 2 or 3 losses, or Illinois' got 3 or 4. That's because everybody's beating the hell out of each other. And you never know where the schedule is, because some of the schedules were front-loaded easier, not easier by design, just who you played. Some are back-loaded easier. Some are, I think Purdue, played 4 games in a row on the road. That's abnormal, although we're going to probably play 5 out of 6 on the road, It feels like we haven't been in Breslin on the big gym floor in, seems like an eternity. But, everybody's going to go through something. Some might be a little luckier than others, and some, like we've gone through it a little tougher in some ways than others. But those can't be excuses this year. I think Mike's right. You do what you can do, and we're just excited that we're getting a chance to play again. I am. My trainer is. My team is. And hopefully you guys are, because, you get to watch a team that you're following play, and it's been a boring couple of weeks, hasn't it? At least for me, and I'm sure for you in some way, shape, or form.
Coach, that's all we have. Appreciate you taking the time.
All right, guys, stay safe, stay healthy, and how come nobody asked me a question I could yell at you? That seems to be the theme of this week, so I guess, dang, I missed out, but you guys take care.